Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us in from. I hope that music has given you a little bit of energy, and depending on what stage of the day you're joining us from. You are very welcome to our fourth Startup Women's webinar of 2022, Embracing Connection, Finding the Right Community for You and Your Business. I'm Isabel Nolan, I'm the program lead here at Startup Canada. To begin, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I am on today is located on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of all Indigenous peoples. I encourage you to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territory that you're residing on today. We welcome you all to connect in the chat. Make sure you're sending messages to everyone in the room, and Zoom typically defaults it to only be sending to hosts and panelists. So just make sure that you're talking to everyone. Today's session is being recorded, and we will be adding it to our YouTube channel afterwards as a living resource. So Startup Canada is a national non-for-profit that is the gateway to Canada's entrepreneurial ecosystem. We're here to connect entrepreneurs with the support, community, and tools they need to build a successful business in Canada. Since launching in 2012, Startup Canada has grown to support more than 122,000 entrepreneurs annually and an ever-growing grassroots community network from coast to coast to coast. Startup Women is one of Startup Canada's flagship programs, a series of free mentorship, advocacy, and education initiatives. This year, we are very delighted to be scaling it into an annual program, allowing for more women identifying entrepreneurs to be engaged and give longer lasting support. Before we get started, I have a quick message from our presenting partner, the Scotiabank Women Initiative. I will play that for you now.
The Scotiabank Women Initiative is dedicated to your success on your terms.
I'm shaping our industry's vision for the future.
I can expand my business without borrowing from my family.
I know I can face anything thanks to my network.
I'm ready for my next chapter.
I'm inspiring future leaders.
I'm making sure my family's future is secure.
Define your success, and we'll help you achieve it. With unbiased access to capital and tailored solutions, bespoke specialized education, and holistic advisory services and mentorship. Join our community of women today, the Scotiabank Women Initiative.
All right, I would also like to thank our national and community partners, BDC, Google, Procurement Assistance Canada, TD, UPS, and our youth stream partner, Desjardins. So today's conversation is all about community, where you can find it, how you can leverage the support that's already out there, both on a micro and macro level, and how our community can help you and your business thrive. Today's speakers are no strangers to building communities with a purpose. They'll talk us through their journeys, lessons learned along the way, and the impact their communities are having on the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Canada. We have prepared questions for our panelists. However, if you do have a question throughout today's session, you can either write it in the Q&A box and we'll ask it live, or you can also put it into the chat and I'll flag it with the moderator as well. So without further ado, I'm honored to introduce our speakers for today. We have Wendy Mayhew, founder of Wise and community leader at Startup 50+. Dwania Peele, founder of Canadian Small Business Women, and Joanne Videco, my apologies, Joanne Videco, founder of Canadian Women's Network. To help guide today's conversation, we have our moderator, Naina, Kansal, Entrepreneur Success Manager at Startup Canada. Naina, I will pass it over to you.
Thanks, Isabel. Hello, everyone. As Isabel mentioned, I'm Naina Kansal. I'm the Entrepreneur Success Manager here at Startup Canada, leading our Startup Communities program that is our peer-to-peer networks spread across the country at grassroots level. From the beginning, communities has played a major role in my personal and professional life. And the whole credit for these amazing communities go to incredible community leaders like our panelists today, who work hard to make this world a better place. So without further ado, I'd like our panelists to introduce themselves and share a little bit about their entrepreneurial journeys. So, Wendy, why don't we kickstart with you?
Hi, Wendy Mayhew. I'm from Ottawa, and I have been an entrepreneur for over 40 years. And I have seen the good, the bad, the very, very, very ugly, and the very, very, very best success you can ever have as an entrepreneur. And I look forward to sharing my information or my stories with you to help you with your community.
Thanks, Wendy. We're looking forward to hearing all the stories, the good, bad, and the ugly. Why don't we move on to Dwania?
Hello, everyone. I'm Dwania Peele, and I'm the founder of Canadian Small Business Women. I might not have seen as many stories as Wendy, but I do hear a lot in the immigrant circle and in the startup circle, you know, those people who have an idea and it's like, what's next? They have no idea what the next step is. So I am excited to share part of our journey as we go through within this hour.
Thanks, Tanya. Joanne?
Hey, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks to Startup Canada for inviting me and to be amongst Dwania and Wendy. I'm from Alberta originally, grew up in Northern Alberta on a farm. I go home to Edmonton now to visit family. I've been in the Bay Area for too long of a time, since 1999. And for the last 8 years, I've been doing work to support Canadian entrepreneurs with access to Silicon Valley. I'll talk about the why when we get into that. I also founded the Women's Network 5 years ago. So we support specifically Canadian female-led entrepreneurs with access to the US. I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit in the Bay Area that focuses in the life sciences space. So we work with Canadian life science companies, and we're launching a fund here to support, actually to get more women on the cap table. It's 30 global women on that. We'll be doing early stage angel investing, and I'm really excited about that. And we also publish a magazine called Disruption, where we're sharing stories about Canadian technology and startups, and just interesting innovation that is happening in the world.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And, you know, this is just such a powerhouse of a lineup for our discussion today. And I'm looking forward to take a deep dive in now. So for our attendees, I have one question for you. As we're talking about community today, what is one key outcome you're thinking of taking from today's session? Maybe it's about making a connection. Maybe it's a question as it relates to your business. Maybe it's about taking that next step. So feel free to share those in the chat box, and we'll answer that and we'll make that happen. So to kickstart with, I know community means different things to different people. So for you as entrepreneurs in the community space, what does community mean to you? So maybe we'll kickstart with Dwania. And
you know, for us, when I think community personally, I am thinking of just pure collaboration. How can one person help another? How can we all be, we have to all have one common goal, right? And in the back of all the other things that we usually say is our goal is to win. At the end of the day, we all want to win. We all want to succeed. Some people might not want to say it. They might say, we want to have like-minded people who can, you know, we're here, we're all a family. We're going to be real with each other, right? So we want to make sure everyone has that same drive. And part of the drive is not just the drive for themselves, it's the drive to help each other succeed. So that's what we kind of try to push forth in our community.
thanks, Tanya. Joanne?
So I had a very interesting learning a couple of years back because I've built a very big network here in Silicon Valley over the years across Canada. But I learned this distinction between network and community because, you know, networks are big and they serve a wonderful purpose, and we're in the business of helping to connect people into our network. But for me, the community is that I've got your back. You know, it's that person that's there for you without any interest or need of reciprocity. It's your 411, it's your 911. It even gives me goosebumps talking about it, but it is those people that really show up for you because they just want to support you, they love you, and like I said, they really have your back. So that's how I've been viewing community over the last couple of years.
That's an interesting way to put it. I know early in my career, someone asked me, who are the 5 people you'd go to? Who are like your board of directors? You go there for support, you go there for guidance, you go there when you have problem. And, just such an interesting way to actually differentiate between a network and community. So thanks for that. Wendy, so what does community mean to you?
Well, I think my other 2 panelists here have described exactly what I would say. And it is very much different than networking. And it is people that, as Joanne says, has your back. And they're the ones that, you're having whatever kind of issue or concern or anything else, you can get in touch with them and they'll be there for you to offer advice, assistance, or even if they can't help you, is refer you to somebody that can. So they're just friends. They're friends. They become part of your family, really, your business family.
Absolutely. I see the common kind of words, even in the chat box, finding that community, finding that friendship and that family that will be there in the time of need, in celebrating your successes, and in actually following your journey all along. So why don't we actually go back to your background a little bit? So what were some of the pain points you experienced when you were starting your entrepreneurial journey? And who did you reach out to for support? Where did you find that community? So let's start with Joanne this time.
So for me, it was like I had the privilege and pleasure of running an organization called the C100 in the Bay Area in 2014 to 2016. Which really opened my eyes up to the differences between what was happening in Silicon Valley and happening in other parts of the world. It also opened up to me this huge network of expat Canadians and got me into the tech sector in a very different way down here. And it's a very collaborative ecosystem that's here. It's just amazing how much people want to help early stage entrepreneurs on their journey to help them wayfind. So when I left C100, I actually wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, but what I knew that I loved to do was I knew I loved connecting with people. I knew I loved helping people. I knew I had a passion for Canada. And I knew that I had built this network that was really easy for me to access, but incredibly difficult for founders in Canada to even know that it existed. So for me, I actually just didn't really have a plan, which is a little bit of how I operate, and just start doing things with it. So, and the more that I did it, the more that I realized, there isn't one solution out there. There isn't one accelerator. There isn't one organization. There isn't one person. There isn't one path. There isn't one community. So therefore, all of these different nodes are very, important and critical for entrepreneurs to be able to access on their journey. So, through that, it's just like there's a need. I turned to my expat community. I turned to 30 expat Canadian women that I had got to know over 2 years. And I asked them, if I brought a group of entrepreneurs down from Canada, would they show up? Would they introduce them to the network? Would they speak at an event? Would they refer somebody to the entrepreneurs if needed? And they all said yes. So that's really how the Canadian Women's Network was started and why we exist today.
That absolutely shows, the need for that community, the need for connection, and just the openness to new connections, to join a new community. So congratulations and kudos for doing that, Joanne. Let's move on to Dwania.
The challenge for me when I just started, I started my first business, which was not Canadian Small Business Women. And I was still in school and I was still new to Canada. And I had this wonderful idea of starting a cupcake business before cupcakes were the craze in Canada, because I was moving from New York City where it was already, it took off. And I had no idea where to turn to. I had no one to turn to. And then, over time, I started trying to find things out myself when I met one person, and then I met another person and another person. And, those people who I met, I don't know, it's probably about 15, 20 years ago now, I still turn to them today because they were the people who kind of started pulling me into certain circles that I didn't know existed. And that seems to be probably the common thread that we all have, in that everything is so disconnected. There's not one place to find all of the information that you need. And sometimes when you find that one place that you think you should be, they're speaking over your head, right? So my really big pain point was just finding the information and finding the people who can lead me to where the information was so I could get started. But once I found them, I figured it would be great to try to be that person for other people, which is really why I ended up starting Canadian Small Business Women's, because I wanted to learn and I wanted other people to learn along with me.
For sure. Yeah, I know, coming from the same background, that newcomer background, being a person of color, and just not, having that kind of imposter syndrome initially, that it held me back for so long. And when I just started reaching out to people and actually accepting things, I know the certain thing in my trade and I don't know the rest, and it's okay to ask. So first of all, just, just coming over and overcoming those barriers myself, and that making that initial connection, and then it's like a spider web. One connection leads to another, and then 6 months later you have this big community. So thanks for that, Tanya, and thanks for actually leading the charge through Canadian Small Business Women. I know how hard you work to actually share all your insights through different programs that you lead. Wendy, now we know that you are a serial entrepreneur. You have led so many businesses, and you've helped so many entrepreneurs navigate these pain points. What are some of the learnings you can recall?
I'm going to tell you something that happened. It was one of my first businesses. And, I had these great ideas and whatnot, and it was a mini office complex. And I had made arrangements with the landlord with regard to payments and whatnot, and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, long story short, they said I had to leave. So I had to close down my business. And we're talking over 40 years ago now. So there wasn't anybody that I could go to and talk to other than my accountant, who told me not to claim bankruptcy, and my lawyer, who did all the paperwork to close everything up. So, I didn't have a community. Because there wasn't anybody around. Like, we didn't have those small business organizations that you can reach out to now. However, I'm talking about community. I came home and I kind of, started my own little business again. Before that, I had a lot of people from my past that I went to school with or had referrals to, who helped me along the way, and started finding me work and whatnot. So there's always a community, even if it's outside of what you're looking for at that point. There is. It's community is so important. I mean, I built the community for the 50 plus group of entrepreneurs by starting the Wise 50 over 50 awards, so that they could be recognized, but also build a community that they can help each other with, because they're really important. It's really, really important to have somebody to talk to and reach out to.
Thanks, Wendy. And, you mentioned some initial early on connections that actually came together to support you when you needed them the most. This is something that I always recall, that you never know who's actually going to come forward to help you when you need them the most. And I see, even my school alumni, coming together, and like when I started my first business, coming together, promoting that. And when you're starting a business, even that single like, that single share can mean so much. So thanks for sharing that and reflecting on that. Now, moving on to, the businesses that you've built, all three businesses of yours, they have community at its core. So can you talk me through why you started these businesses and the community aspect of them? What gaps do your communities fill? So maybe we'll go back to your conversation, Wendy, about the experience you just shared, and maybe, you know, that was kind of the seed that, you know, that made you start WISE and actually help more entrepreneurs?
Yes, so I'm an older entrepreneur myself, and you know, I knew that there was a need for people to be recognized starting businesses after the age of 50. And I had heard one too many times, because I have, and I continue to advocate for this group, but I had talked to so many government people, and they said, we'll never support you in this because you're never going to amount to anything. Nobody over the age of 50 is ever going to amount to anything whenever they start a business. And I went, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so I created the WISE 50 over 50 awards in 2017. And I bootstrapped them all myself. And I had almost 100 applications the first year. So I think that that says something about entrepreneurship over the age of 50 here in Canada. And, you know, they said, the government would tell me, I remember one person saying to me, you're never going to amount to anything. You're going to work for the government. You're going to retire. You're going to come back as a consultant to the same position. Well, okay, people are going to do that. And you know what? That is a business. You are running a business. And yes, you have the experience and why not? So there's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, so in my first cohort of the awards, we had such a vast array of everything from very technical companies to authors to consultants. It was just, it's such a broad area. And we have built a community over the last, I did them for 3 years. And it's just, they're all a community. And that's what I want to do, is just to continue to promote entrepreneurs over the age of 50 or wannabe entrepreneurs over the age of 50 to, you know, take the stress out of starting a business and helping them build their own community and successful business.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks. And I think, you know, necessity leads to innovation and invention, and you know, like that's what you've done with WISE. And there's such a huge gap, especially, you know, for entrepreneurs who are over the age of 50. And in the recent events, we have seen so much light that has been shed onto ageism and not enough support for senior entrepreneurs. So thanks for leading the charge there. Dwania, can you share a little bit about the business services and programming that Canadian small business women provides?
Sure. I mean, over the past few years, we've had to make quite a few changes to what we offer based on the fact that I stopped doing in-person events from probably about 2019, early 2020. And we had to kind of see what our community wanted for, you know, during those COVID years, which, you know, still kind of COVID years. So we made a change and we wanted to really try to target exactly what they wanted. And this year, I was so happy. And Naina, I know you've seen my emails about it. We launched our accelerator program. We're in our second cohort right now, week 3 of our second cohort, where we select 10 women from across Canada. And we go through weekly courses, well, twice a week for 6 weeks, leading up to the end where they have to do a pitch to just, you know, try to sell us what they've learned, really. And we've partnered with Volition out of BC, and we started hosting a pitch conference. And this year we're focusing on from farm to table. Applications are still open for that. If you're anywhere from the ag sector to restaurant sector, anywhere in between, we're receiving applications for that. And we did some brunches this summer, which was very difficult for me to go out in public. I still do have a fear of being outside, you know, working on it. But we had a couple of small strategy brunches. And, you know, thank you, Startup Canada, because you've supported me on all those events. So I really do appreciate it. But those have been well received by our community because they wanted that smaller group, you know, 4-hour session where they feel like their particular issue is being resolved. And in the accelerator program, I'm getting a lot of really positive feedback because they feel like everything that they came to learn, they learned, and they're ready to start their businesses.
Thanks, Tanya. And, just glad, so I was fortunate enough to really see the impact of those workshops firsthand, but, just the work you're doing, the testimonials you receive for those events, and just the outcomes and the tangible takeaways that entrepreneurs take away, from those events. It is something that we have been craving and we've been missing, and I know it's uncomfortable, especially at this point, just going in public. And I have been making that effort to go back in-person events, but it's not the same. It's, it takes that intention. It takes a little bit of preparation. Honestly, my first goal is, okay, do I shake hands? Are hugs okay? Should I stay far? And like that happened when, I saw Wendy recently. There was that awkward silence for a second, and then I was like, okay, are you okay? Are you comfortable with this? So thanks for hosting those. Joanne, so moving to you. So what impact have you seen your community have on the entrepreneurial system? From your programming, from the trips that you've hosted for Canadian entrepreneurs, and what are some of the trends you're seeing in that space as well?
Well, our differentiator is our US network. You can see with Wendy and Dwania here and the other amazing resources in Canada, there's a lot that really help entrepreneurs start and be able to connect locally. And we love partnering and working with all of the organizations there. But we have a tagline that says we want entrepreneurs to be able to build locally, but scale globally. In order to do that, you need a global network. And so the impact is really being able to provide entrepreneurs with access to people and organizations that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. And that just opens up a whole host of benefits for the founders. Everybody wants that direct line to capital, but you have to build relationships. And that's kind of a really big piece that we want to skip the line and just get to okay, introduce me, show me the capital. But you really have to come here and be able to build and go it's here's no different than anywhere, right? To build networks, build relationships, and those are fostered over time. And to your point that you said earlier, you don't know where one connection is going to lead 6 days, 6 months, 6 years down the road. So you've got to really cast a wide net and be able to build those relationships. And out of that comes, mentorship, advisors, board members, capital, customers, the wisdom of those that have been there before. And we've had, founders that have come down that have completely changed the trajectory of their business, pivoted, gone into a different, because somebody said, what have you thought about this? Or I could introduce you over here. Obviously, there's lots of access to capital here. The world comes to Silicon Valley to pitch. So often entrepreneurs are sort of woken up a little bit to what's happening outside of maybe their own four walls that they don't have that, sort of purview into, and Silicon Valley gets to see that. So there's a lot that happens by just being here. I just had a founder in town that was doing a program with the consulate, one of their CTA programs. And she just said wow, kind of technology is everywhere here. Everybody wants to help. I got introductions that I would have never otherwise, been able to get. And everything just moves so much faster here. And so often founders are hesitant to come, spend the time, spend the money, but I think it pays off in spades if you come into a network like this and be able to spend some time. You have to participate in this community. There's a give and take. It's not just about coming and taking. You have to also be able to give into this community as well, which happens over time in any community to that point. So that's kind of what we've seen. Everything from game changing, the trajectory of their business to, of course, funding, but just building that network in those communities for them. And so many women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general have just built connections with people that they introduce them to 3 more people, and they introduce them to 3 more people. And that's the network effect. And that's, I think, the real benefit that comes out of working with any of our organizations. Mine just happens to be down here.
Absolutely, Joanne. So for entrepreneurs who don't have that direct proximity to investors and that network, what would be the first step that you recommend? Because a lot of our attendees today are early stage founders who, and one of the main questions that we hear is we don't have access to investors or funding, or maybe lack of education around that area. So what's the first step you'll recommend to them for making this connection?
So that's why we built and are building further the Canadian Women's Network. So we have an online community of over 550 members in it. Those members are Canadian female-led startups of early stage companies. They're ecosystem-led leaders, and they're investors. And they're our US investor network, our US executive network. And we bring investors onto the platform to hold pitch sessions. So startups can come on and get access to an investor and be able to pitch to them, not for here's my check I'm going to get out of you, but again, I'm going to get some feedback. I'm going to benchmark what you're seeing out there in the world to like my product. I'm going to get a network and connection, and it's for them to therefore foster at that point. So we have these like programs. We've got a founder funder event where it's kind of a virtual networking with 15 startups, 5 US investors come into a room. We share contact information. We share about the startups. We have our Founded in Canada series, which is a more application-based program. We introduce them to 15 US investors that they pitch to in 30 minutes and get feedback from them. So it's just, you just have to kind of get into some of these communities, poke around and see what's available, because the Canadian Women's Network is absolutely opening up our network. We have over 1,000 investors in our database that show up to events, that participate, provide pitch feedback, do the online programming and stuff for us. So the access is there. It's just really the founders kind of taking it, being able to take advantage of it, get over maybe that little bit of fear, that little bit of confidence that they might have, and say, I'm just going to put myself out there. And it's, from there, it's just asking people for connections. It's the, who do you know? This is who I'm looking for. Do you know somebody that looks like that?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joanne. So I think the key takeaway for me was take the initiative, reach out if you have questions. We all want to support you. We also have a great communities program through Startup Canada. We have over 42 communities across the country. You can reach out to Joanne and her team. They're doing fabulous work, and they can connect you with investors. So find the right community, explore around, and take that initiative. Reach out, send that message if you've been holding on to it. So, just taking a little bit of a deep dive. Now I'm seeing this trend of macro and micro communities. Now, based on the industry that you're in. So for example, someone might be in the beauty industry, health industry, food and beverage, tech industry. So what do you recommend for someone who's starting out? Should they maybe start with the macro community or micro community? So what would be that first step when they're actually looking to find some direct connections, to look for some candid feedback and some direct help? So Wendy, do you have any recommendations on that in your take?
I think that if I was starting out, I would want a micro community. I wouldn't want to be overwhelmed with everything all at once, because starting a business is overwhelming. So just start small and kind of grow into a macro one.
Thanks, Wendy. Dwania, do you have any thoughts on that?
I agree with Wendy, because there are times where entrepreneurs reach out to me and, for example, if they're looking for something in the food industry, I would, direct them to, Canadian Women in Food or a Foodpreneur Lab or somewhere like that, because I know that they have pretty much all the answers, more answers than I would have, in order to lead them to success.
Absolutely. Joanne, what are your thoughts around macro and micro communities?
I'm going to say yes and to this, because I think macro communities are exactly what this is right now, right? It is often when you don't know what you don't know. Where do you go? How do you start to wayfind? And within some of these macro communities, just like you said, there's micro communities too, to find where that group is that is either that stage, it's industry, maybe it's experience level, maybe it's location based, like all those things. But we have so many like early stage founders, first time looking for venture capital. They don't have a freaking clue, right? Nobody does in the beginning. So you have to kind of poke around a little bit and see what's out there. And there is an overwhelming amount. So, come in, check out the community, participate in it, see if they participate back and engage and see if that feels right. And then even look to see if there is some micro communities within there, or that can help lead you to some micro communities. So we see and do a lot of both. Like our membership and our platform is definitely macro, but we have some of those micro communities as well. But that often comes when you really know what you're looking for. And those are usually a bit more, founders have either been there, done it before, or they're at a bit more growth stage. They've got the customers, they're kind of getting towards their first $1 million in revenue. And they're like, I know I need access to this exact VC. I know I need this customer, and that's like the avatar of them. I know I need these networks to it. And so, I think that just happens in the evolution of a startup journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. So how do you think a community can help entrepreneurs thrive? Maybe through your own experience, maybe something that you've seen, your community, how it helps entrepreneurs in their journeys. So can you share some examples for that? Maybe we'll start with you, Dwania.
Specific examples. I'm probably going to be more general.
No problem.
I find that when you are a part of the community, and I feel we've all echoed this in this conversation before, it's all about taking that initiative and asking for what you want, because a closed mouth doesn't get fed, people. You need to ask for what you want, because we all don't know what you want. And oftentimes as community leaders, we are surveying our communities to say, hey, what can we do to help you? And the help might not come from the community leader. It will come from the people within the community. So ask for what you want, and someone might be able to deliver, but make sure also that you are taking the initiative to build on that. Not only take, try to give, but also be very actionable. If you're getting resources, don't let them sit on the back burner, use them.
Absolutely. For sure. So communities, should always be, two-way streets, in my opinion. What do you think, Wendy? So how can entrepreneurs ensure that they're also giving back while they're taking, benefit from communities?
Well, I think business in general, outside of even a community, is give and take. You can't continue to take all the time without giving, because people will not want anything to do with you. But, with my community, and my big community being the WISE 50 over 50 award winners from 3 years, I mean, they help each other. Pardon me. I've been approached a lot of time by media and whatnot, asking for people to, to interview, and I've got this big community that I can refer people to. And and in return, if I need anything from my community, I ask, and most of them give to me. And it's not giving, but they're offering their assistance to me. So it's a give and take, each way all the time, or else it doesn't work.
Absolutely. Thanks, Wendy. So Joanne, the same question for you. So how do you think entrepreneurs can also give back and actually give back to the ecosystem? So it might not be in the same community. Maybe they're giving back through mentorship programs and advisory sessions, as you mentioned, or actually helping someone who might be at an earlier stage than them. Yeah.
So founders ask this all the time, because what we tell founders to do or suggest when they meet with anybody, they should always end the conversation with, how can I help you? And founders will say, well, what do I have to offer to an investor? I'm really looking for their money. Well, what most founders have is a group of other kick-ass founders that they know that are doing incredible things. So that's one thing that they can say is like, would you like to be introduced to more amazing founders like me, or more founders in this industry? And that can like go a long way. It also helps you build relationship with that investor, stay in touch with. So there's other ways and means for that, for it. Again, this community, and like we talked about, like it is all built on reciprocity. It's built on give and take. And I think that it's just being thoughtful along the way. That can be sharing. I just listened to this great webinar from Startup Canada, and I think you should hear it. It could be, I met an investor, they're not the one for me, but I'd like to be able to introduce you. It's mentoring back. There's lots of founders that I know that are, not serial successful founders yet, but they're already mentoring companies that are, 2 years before them, because they know what that struggle was like and how hard it was. And they can at least say, I've been there with you and I've got your back, and how can I support you? Even because they've navigated those early waters. So I think there's like some really great ways to give back, and being part of some of these micro communities is really helpful as well. And you can just so when we run programs, just even engagement within the program is like giving back. We see this often where founders are like, hey, you know what? I kind of know somebody or something about your business. I think I can, give you some pitch feedback on your deck. So there's lots of little things that founders can do along the way, which really helps build their own confidence as well as their networks and communities.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, Joanne. Recently, I saw this example on social media. So I think 10 women entrepreneurs here in Ottawa. So they meet monthly. They choose a local restaurant. They meet there for lunch and they discuss their business strategies. And they discuss their candid, successes and also where they're looking for help, and they make those connections. They grow that network. And actually, that's the gist of what we're trying to do here, leading entrepreneurial communities, hosting these events for genuine connections, for entrepreneurs to share what help and what help they're looking, what feedback they're actually looking for, and how can they grow further. So just putting on your community builder hat, and do you have any advice for early stage women identifying entrepreneurs looking to start their own community? Dwania, I know you have great experience, just like both of the other panelists. So maybe we'll start with you in how you started CSBW.
I think the first step is to be clear about what you want with your community. What are you really doing it for? Is it just building a community that you feel you can sell to, or is it actually building a community that can interact and really help each other? That part is step number one, because oftentimes entrepreneurs feel like we're building this community and they will say they're building it for one reason, but it's not. You have to be honest about it, and then be honest with your community, and keeping engagement going is very difficult. I can tell you, I have a very hard time doing it, especially with, Facebook groups and on LinkedIn groups. It is very difficult. There are a few groups that I'm a part of that I see are wildly successful with this, and I admire them for it, where I see the support system, but it's a matter of getting that kind of support system started very early, so that when new people join that community, they're able to see that there's already a level of support, and it's either we're going to be a part of that support or you're not going to be a part of the community. It's very hard, and I'm just being transparent. I still haven't found that secret sauce. I'm still working on that secret sauce. I'm able to communicate with people who are on like my email list very well, because they know me and we've built that relationship. It's a matter of getting all the others outside of that to really start communicating and saying what you want. Like in our Facebook group, we've started where you're not just going to post ads. You need to ask questions that are going to be business building questions that we can have some of our group experts answer, because if you had that question, there might be 500 people who had that same question, and we would like to keep that whole conversation, going and try to help each other. But it's really so difficult to find really good communities. I can throw out a couple of examples only because I think these groups are amazing if you want to check out how they actually do it. I know there's the MOB group, it's Mississauga Area Women in Business, run by Christine Hull, and her engagement is phenomenal. I really think she probably has a 50% engagement rate in her group. It's amazing. And then there's a more of a lifestyle type group that I'm a part of, Black Queens of Durham. I'm not even in Durham region, and I infiltrated the group because it's that good. In that when someone makes a call out, whether it's business or personal, everyone jumps on to support. And some days it brings tears to my eyes. It's like you'll see a post from someone that said, I just started my business and this is what I do. And then you'll see like 500 comments beneath it. I'm buying this, I'm gonna support you, I'm gonna share this. It's like, this is incredible. So if we can only find a way to really get that going in other groups, if anyone knows the secret sauce, please tell me, because I don't know it yet.
Thanks, Tanya. Love that. And thanks for the shout outs to the two groups, and I hope everyone can check them out. I remember so initially, like when I was new to LinkedIn and trying to get my personal brand developed and so on, like I would just post, but I would never engage in the comments, engage with, and it's because building a community is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes intention. And like that is, Joanne, thanks for actually sharing that comment in the chat box about including the message. Tell people where you met them. What was that common value or that common place where you met them? And, that drives that instant communication and that instant conversation. So always be intentional about the community you're building. If you think building a community is very hard, you don't have time, or just the resources available right now, try engaging with different communities as well. Wendy, so what advice would you share for someone who's thinking of building a community?
Well, I'm agreeing with Dwania. It's very difficult to do them, and I belong to a couple of different groups that are very, very active, and you have to be aware that if you're going to do this, pardon me, I've got something that just doesn't want to go away here, sorry. But you have to be posting all the time. You have to, it's almost like a full-time job building a community, right? I mean, when you do them on Facebook, it's just, I know that there's this one that I follow and I know, like I must get 20 or 30 reminders every day that somebody else has posted in it. And the host of that one, she's on it all the time. Then there's another one that I think it's also, is it your interest? So I belong to this one, and it's by invitation only for authors. And so that has a good engagement too, but very, very, very strict restrictions on what you can and cannot do on it. So just, if you're going to do one, you make sure that you have the time to do it and put the effort into it. I think that's more than enough of and I'm not trying to say don't start one, just be prepared that it does take a lot of work.
Thanks, Wendy. And I saw, Joanne also sharing that, giving +1, that it is a lot of work, and you've built multiple communities, across the world. So also, Wendy touched upon what you can post and what you cannot post. So Joanne, can you share a little bit about the community guidelines, the importance of setting those rules, when you're starting out for your members to engage?
Yeah, so it all depends again what the purpose is. Like in our community, we want people to post. We want other organizations to share what programs they have or events. And I think that also just speaks to like our ethos of collaboration on it. I have a private LinkedIn group that's very different for sort of executives and investors that we're building. So that can be higher value for those, again, later stage that are looking for a micro community. So, I think, you just be honest and transparent up front. Let's, you communicate and if you see any bad actors, then you kind of reach out to them nicely with it. But just, I think go back to like, what's the intention? Like our intention is really to connect Canadian entrepreneurs from coast to coast with each other, to have them to access like any kind of programming that's available in North America. So for us, it's very open, and therefore, we sort of, it's set and encourage that out there. And for others, it might be, very different, and for very good reasons for that. So just knowing what the purpose and goal is of it will help set those parameters. Yeah.
Thanks, Joanne. So talking a little bit more about your communities. So what does the future of each of your communities hold? What do you hope to achieve in the next few years, and how are you trying to get there? Joanne, do you want to continue, and share a little bit about your goals for Canadian Women's Network and the other communities you're building?
Thank you. It's really the vision has always been to be able to be a place for the entrepreneur at various levels of their journey. So we're very much focused in the last number of years on early stage entrepreneurs, first-time founders, their first revenue pieces, right? Their first capital raise, their first time coming to Silicon Valley. But again, there's entrepreneurs that are $1 million to a couple million in revenue looking to get to their first 10 million. And so we want to be able to have a community and programming that's available to them. And that just looks very different. We also have an amazing network of great corporate innovation leaders. They want to be connected in corporate executives that want to be able to advise, be on a board or whatnot. So the vision is really to be able to have those different offerings at the different stages that an entrepreneur or a woman or man ultimately kind of like go through in kind of building, supporting, investing in technology and change. Yeah.
Awesome. That's fabulous. Thanks, Joanne. Wendy?
And I also want to join Wendy's over 50 group, but that would like
that would be awesome. I will let you in the group immediately. Okay, my community right now is for established entrepreneurs for the awards, but I'm opening it up to a wider one because I want to, my community and what I want to do is help people over the age of 50 that are considering entrepreneurship, and to help them find the support that they need for financing, which is difficult for them. So I want to be able to have those resources to be able to assist them with starting their business. So that's what I'm all about, is advocating for the over 50 group in any way I can help them.
Thanks, Wendy. And you do such an amazing job advocating for, leading programs for, mentoring and coaching, entrepreneurs over 50 years of age. So thanks for all you do for the community. Dwania, over to you.
For us, we know that the accelerator program and the strategy brunch and our pitch conference, we know that those things were a huge success. So we're definitely going to continue that. And we're going to probably structure things a little bit more so that it's more clear to our community what steps they need to take to funnel through all our programs. And we are hoping to really build our course catalog more. We just started that this year. So that's really what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully some more in-person events.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tanya. And, I've really enjoyed the discussion, all the insights that you've shared, your experiences, and all the feedback that you've shared with our entrepreneurs, community builders, and, for all our attendees, there's so many of the attendees are sharing really good communities and other networks in the chat box. So if you're looking for other community options as well, please do check the chat box. There's some huge gems that I see everyone sharing. If you're looking to connect with any of our panelists and their communities, please send us a message. We'll make that connection, directly. You can also connect with them on LinkedIn. And if you're looking to also connect with Startup Communities Network, you can get in touch with our team too. And happy community building. And we hope you find the right community network. So thanks so much to all our panelists again, and I'll just pass it over to our amazing Isabel for her remarks.
Thank you so much, Naina, and thank you to each of our speakers. Before I get into my very quick closing remarks, I have a quick feedback poll I would love all of our attendees to answer. So while that comes up on your screen, thank you so much for joining today's event. Really appreciate you all staying on with us for the hour. I urge you to reach out to each of our speakers. I will be sending a recap email of everything that we discussed, anything that was shared in the chat. I've captured it all, so we'll package it up nicely for you. And yeah, I feel like the underlying theme of today was take that initiative. You know, you never know where a conversation can lead you. You never know who you're talking to and where that connection can go. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Wendy, Dwania, and Joanne, for donating your time and expertise, for sharing your journey with us so beautifully, and Naina for your support in guiding this conversation. I'd like to take a moment to thank our presenting partner, the Scotiabank Women Initiative, and our national community partners, BDC, Google, Procurement Assistance Canada, UPS, TD, and our youth stream partner, Desjardins. Our final webinar of the Startup Women program is on Wednesday, November 30th, and it is all about navigating negotiation. So really hope you can all join us for that, and I'll pop the link into the chat as well. But from me and the rest of the Startup Canada team, thank you so much for joining, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you, Isabel and
Thank
Naina.
you.
See you guys.
Thank you.